Bereshit, or Genesis 12 through 15. And Yahovah said to Abram, Go yourself out of your land, from your relatives, and from your father's house, to a land which I show you. And I shall make you a great nation, and bless you, and make your name great. And you shall be a blessing. And I shall bless those who bless you, and curse him who curses you, and in you all the clans of the earth shall be blessed. So Abram left as Yahovah had commanded him, and Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the beings whom they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan. And they came to the land of Canaan. And Abram passed through the land to the place of Shechem, as far as the terebinth tree of Moreh. At that time the Canaanites were in the land. And Yahovah appeared to Abram and said, To your seed I give this land. And he built there a slaughter place to Yahovah who had appeared to him. And from there he moved to the mountains east of Bethel. And he pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And he built there a slaughter place to Yahovah and called on the name of Yahovah. And Abram set out, continuing towards the south. And a scarcity of food came to be in the land, and Abram went down to Mitsrayim to sojourn there, for the scarcity of food was severe in the land. And it came to be, when he was close to entering Mitsrayim, that he said to Sarai his wife, See, I know that you are a beautiful woman to look at. And it shall be, when the Mitsrites see you, they shall say, This is his wife, and they shall kill me, but let you live. Please say you're my sister, so that it shall be well with me for your sake, and my life be spared because of you. And it came to be, when Abram came into Mitsrayim, that the Mitsrites saw the woman, that she was very beautiful. And Pharaoh's officials saw her and praised her before Pharaoh. And the woman was taken to Pharaoh's house. And he treated Abram well for her sake. And he had sheep and cattle and male donkeys and male and female servants and female donkeys and camels. But Yahovah plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this you have done to me? Why did you not inform me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister? And so I was going to take her for my wife. Look, here's your wife. Take her and go. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had. Genesis 13. And Abram went up from Mitsrayim into the south, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him. And Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journey from the south as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, to the place of the slaughter place which he had made there at first. And there Abram called on the name of Yahovah. Now Lot, who went with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their possessions were great, so that they could not dwell together. And there was a strife between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. And at that time the Canaanites and the Perizzites dwelt in the land. Abram said to Lot, "Let there be no strife between you and me, between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brothers. Is not all the land before you? Please separate from me. If you take the left, I'll go to the right. Or if you go to the right, I'll go to the left." And Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of the Yarden, and it was well watered everywhere, before Jehovah destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Jehovah, like the land of Mitsrayim as you go toward Zoar. So Lot chose for himself all the plain of the Yarden, and Lot moved east. Thus they separated from each other. Abram dwelling in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelling in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent as far as Sodom. But the men of Sodom were evil and sinned before Jehovah, exceedingly so. And after Lot had separated from him, Jehovah said to Abram, "Now lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land which you see I shall give to you and your seed forever. And I shall make your seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could count the dust of the earth, then your seed also could be counted. Arise, walk in the land through its length and its width, for I give it to you." So Abram moved his tent and went and dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built a slaughter place there to Jehovah. Genesis 14. And it came to be in the days of Amraphel, the sovereign of Shinar, Arioch, sovereign of Elasar, Kedorlaomer, sovereign of Elam, and Tidal, sovereign of Goyim, that they fought against Barah, sovereign of Sedom, Birsha, sovereign of Amorah, Shinab, sovereign of Admah, Shemeber, sovereign of Zeboim, and the sovereign of Bela, that is, Zoar. All of these joined together in the valley of Sidon, that is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Kedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled, and in the 14th year Kedorlaomer and the sovereigns that were with him came and struck the Rephaim in Ashtaroth, Karnaim, and the Zuzim in Ham, and the Emites in Shaweh Kiryathaim, and the Horites in their mountain of Seir, as far as El Paran, which is by the wilderness. And they turned back and came to En Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and struck all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites who dwelt in Hatzetzin Tamar. And the sovereign of Sidom, and the sovereign of Amorah, and the sovereign of Admah, and the sovereign of Zeboim, and the sovereign of Bela, that is, Zoar, went out and joined together in battle in the valley of Siddim against Kedar Orla Omar, sovereign of Elam, and Tidal, sovereign of Goyim, and Amraphel, sovereign of Shinar, and Arioch, sovereign of Elasar. 4 sovereigns against 5. And the valley of Siddim had many tar pits, and the sovereigns of Sodom And Amorah fled and fell there, and the remainder fled to the mountains. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Amorah, and all their food, and went away. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and left. And one who had escaped came forth and informed Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, and they had a covenant with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his 318 trained servants who were born in his own house, and went in pursuit as far as Dan. And he and his servants divided against them by night, and struck them, and pursued them as far as Hobah, which is on the left of Damascus. So he brought back all the goods, and also brought back his brother Lot and his goods, as well as the women and the people. And after his return from the striking of Kedorlaomer and the sovereigns who were with him, the sovereign of Sodom came out to meet him at the valley of Shawah, that is, the sovereign's valley. And Melchizedek, sovereign of Shalem, brought out bread and wine. Now he was the priest of the Most High El, and he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High El, possessor of the heavens and earth, and blessed be the Most High El, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. And he gave him a tenth of all. And the sovereign of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the people, and take the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the sovereign of Sodom, I have lifted my hand to Yahovah, the Most High El, the possessor of the heavens and earth, not to take a thread or a sandal strap or whatever is yours, lest you should say, I've made Abram rich, except only what the young men have eaten and the portion of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them take their portion. Genesis 15. After these events, the word of Yahovah came to Abram in a vision, saying, Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield. Your reward is exceedingly great. And Abram said, Master Yahovah, what would you give me, seeing I go childless? And the heir of my house is Eleazar of Damascus. And Abram said, See, you've given me no seed, and see, one born in my house is my heir. And see, the word of Yahovah came to him, saying, This one is not your heir, but he who comes from your own body is your heir. And he brought him outside and said, Look towards the heavens and count the stars, and if you're able to count them. And he said to him, So are your seed. And he believed in Yahovah, and he reckoned it to him for righteousness. And he said to Abram, I am Yahovah, who brought you out of Ur Kasdim, to give you this land and to inherit it. And he said, Master Yahovah, whereby do I know that I possess it? And he said to Abram, Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, and a 3-year-old female goat, and a 3-year-old ram, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And Abram took all these to him, and cut them in the middle, and placed each half on the opposite of the other, but he did not cut the birds. And the birds of prey came down on the carcasses, and Abram drove them away. And it came to be when the sun was going down, and a deep sleep fell upon Abram, that see, a frightening great darkness fell upon him. And he said to Abram, know for certain that your seed are to be sojourners in a land that's not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. But the nation whom they serve I'm going to judge, and afterwards let them come out with great possessions. Now, as for you, you are to go to your fathers in peace. You're to be buried at a good old age. Then in the 4th generation they shall return here, for the crookedness of the Amorites is not yet complete. And it came to be when the sun went down and it was dark, that see, a smoking oven and a burning torch was seen passing between those pieces. On the same day Yahovah made a covenant with Abram, saying, I've given this land to your seed, from the river of Mitsrayim to the great river, the river Euphrates, with the Canaanite and with the Kenzanite and the Cadmonite, and the Hittite and the Perizzite and the Rephaim, and the Amorite and the Canaanite and the Girgashite and the Jebusite.